AnimeSecrets.org, the answer to all your burning questions.
Welcome to the Anime Secrets Halloween Horror Podcast. I am Connor Healy, otherwise known as Hitmage, and we are bringing you some spookiness today, along with
Kara! And we're going to do so much spooky recommendations and learn about a lot of spooky anime and kind of say our favorites. So I'm excited. And I'm joined by...
Hello, I'm Mason, resident horror and JoJo's expert among some of my friends.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Gotta love it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There has to be that one guy who's always like, hey, do you know this one movie that's like about the S&M demons from hell? And it's like, oh, you mean Hellraiser? Yeah!
We always have to have that one expert.
Oh, yeah.
And we are also joined by...
Hello, my name is Mitch. I go on alias as Riftstar, and I am just here for the candy. They offered it to me. Where is it? Gimme.
Trick or treat.
It's in the van.
Is it a red van? Does
It can
it
be
have
whatever
a lot of
color you want.
balloons? A lot of pumpkins? Got balloon animals in there? Got little black and white little cats and balloons?
I mean, you ain't gonna see because you'll have a bag over your head, but
Ooh, I'll get the full experience.
It has a tasteful Rush album cover on the side.
I was going to say it has an ice cream cone on it, but...
Ice cream for Halloween? Oh my.
Hey, down south, sometimes that's what you need.
I am sad that no one picked up on my Archer reference. Shame on all of you.
I don't watch Archer, so...
It's been a while since I've watched Archer, but I can't even remember what episode I last left off.
Oh, man. I think maybe it's time we should get a little spooky, guys.
absolutely.
Yeah, let's get spooky.
Yay, spooky. Ooh.
Also,
yeah.
Connor, I loved
Time
your
to get
evil laugh.
spooky.
It was
Why,
perfect.
thank you. Why, thank you. I try very hard.
This just in, Connor is also a living jack-o'-lantern.
Pretty much. I'm a big pumpkin sitting here. I do have a candle in my mouth, and I am glowing, casting shadows upon the wall.
Okay,
So
go
yeah,
hunt
we've got
Ichabod
we've
then.
got a
Let's
lot
do
of good
this.
stuff today. We're all just gonna kind of go over some of our favorites, talk about some good horror anime, things we like, things we'd like to see. It's kind of a niche, a little bit. I mean, you see horror usually paired with other stuff, but it's pretty interesting how you can see horror kind of get brought to life. I mean, usually my experience with Japanese horror, anime horror, is it can usually run the gamut of like ghost stuff, pretty basic, to like demons or like old Japanese stories, to right up to like, let's take a horror theme like vampires or werewolves or aliens or something.
Sailor
But
Moon
then
Crystal.
Yeah, but then let's pair it with something else. So like a murder mystery or like a psychological thriller, something like that.
Sailor Moon Crystal.
Hey man, season 3 was good.
I don't know. It was pretty horrific to me.
Those animation errors that Toei fixes post-production.
Or like the
For the
or like
Blu-ray.
that Goku versus Beerus fight in Dragon Ball Super.
Oh boy.
It was granted it was fixed for the Blu-ray, but still, that's laziness.
Yep. Well, I'm excited to hear about anime with horror elements to it because, in my opinion, I haven't really seen any anime that are straight horror like we have in America. We have a lot of straight horror movies or straight horror TV shows. I've always noticed in anime there's elements of it, but not like full on, this is balls to the wall, grisly, scary.
But
So,
this is
I'm
now
excited
that
to
you
hear
bring this up.
about
Now
any.
that you bring
stuff like
this up,
that.
because I have been wondering this before we begin about this. I've always wondered, like, what is true horror when you think about it? Like, what portrays horror? Is it the jump scares? Is it the goriness? Is it the disturbingness? Is it the eeriness? Like, what does horror actually mean? Like the way we see it, it usually means like things that go blah in front of your screen, or oh look at that, there's a guy's body cut in half. Oh no, oh he's walking on. Oh, it's Silent Hill, or things like that. It's
I think it's everything. Like, if it's something that's outside of the natural and makes you feel uncomfortable, I think that's horror.
Do you think it's just an unease, a feeling of unease that gives you that unease?
That's what I'm about to say. Like, to me, horror is just like, it's this like fear of the unknown and like what our minds really can't comprehend, and then just this overwhelming sense of dread that something horrible is about to happen and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah, it's that feeling of helplessness.
The sense of loss of control.
Have you ever, not to go too deep here, but have you ever like been watching something and then like suddenly have like a sudden realization that you are very, very much alive, but one day you might not be, and it like makes you feel really uncomfortable and like outside of your body?
Oh, absolutely.
That's usually every day when I wake up. But
that's me when I read like H.P. Lovecraft.
Like, I was like having that. I was having a moment like that the other day. I was watching Sword Art Online with Mitch, and it was Alicization. He was like talking about memories in the show, which I'm not going to spoil or anything like that. We've only seen the first episode, which is like 40 minutes long, but like just him talking about being a kind of out of body in the full body nerve gear thing just made me think about mortality, and like, because he was like talking about souls, so it just made me start thinking about that, and I like had a moment of like, oh my god, I'm alive, but one day I might not be, and it's just a really weird feeling.
It is a weird feeling, but then when you watch the episode, you're just like, "I'll just give me the little VR headset. I don't want any of to do any of this."
yeah. It just made me think of like, oh,
I don't want my soul taken out and put in
a machine. No
machine.
way. So yeah, so Mason, you are a resident horror expert. Do you have an anime to let us know about? That's
there are
spooky.
Potentially like a few, but the ones I want to touch on are known as either the most violent or like the most I want to say well adapted from their source material. One I definitely would recommend is in the from the 1960s and 70s, like there wasn't a lot of horror. There was just like Devilman, and that was it. But then, like in the late '80s, like there was a boom in like horror, like horror and like extreme violence.
That actually, I want to touch on that real quick. When I was a kid in the '90s, I'm dating myself a little. I was born in '87, the year 87 AD, not 1987. But when I was a kid, there were a lot. Like, it seemed like most of the focus on anime at that time. This would have been early to mid '90s, '92 to like '95 or something. Before it had really caught on mainstream, we had the big classics like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and Fist of the North Star. But all the rest of the stuff was stuff like Biohunter, Ninja Scroll, Wicked City, things with a lot of that like violent, demonic, a lot of like body horror transformation stuff, because that's a common thing you see in Japanese horror type stuff, is transformation of the body.
Oh yeah,
and there was actually
that was like what anime was to me when I was really little, and I just thought that was interesting. You mentioned that in the 80s there was quite a boom of that, and I feel like a lot of that really came over to that was kind of what a lot of how anime started out in the US, at least for my generation, was a lot of those like one-shot horror OVAs, things like that.
Yeah. What I actually did a panel at MechaCon here in Louisiana, and we did a J-horror panel which covered Japanese horror movies and anime and manga, and weirdly enough, music, which not a lot of people realize. But in the like late 80s, it was just brutal. Like was like but the reason that there was such a boom in body horror was because of David Cronenberg, like just coming, like his popularity grew with a lot of his films, and
Videodrome and The Fly and stuff. I remember were
Oh yeah.
two of the biggest
and
ones.
then that was also the big focus of the 80s the 80s horror movie boom in Japan as well, was because there was a focus on, you know, the what would happen to the body, like what all the possibilities of like mutations and like decomposition and just experimentation. And the big one was that's known for its extreme violence and then just like kind of petering out from that at the end was Genocyber. And Genocyber is just the first 4 episodes. It's a 6-episode OVA series, and the first 4 episodes are just body horror, like cyberpunk to the max. Like if you want blood and gore and violence, this is your series, because
Oh yeah.
the second series, the first episode has probably the most graphic death I've ever seen on screen, where it's just the main character running with like 3 kids away from some helicopters, and the kids in the helicopter start shooting, and they just shred the kids to like bits and pieces, and this
God.
it's like
because it's shooting the kids with like a rotary cannon that's meant to shoot through armored trucks.
That is overkill. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
That's just a little bit overkill.
Yeah. But episode 1 is basically it's setting up the series, where it's like there are these creatures that were created by this big lab corporation, and it has like everyone has telekinetic and pyrokinetic powers like in Akira. But this is like people like get like cut in half, and like there's a scene with a nurse who's just like eviscerated, like her head just lops off completely, and she just looks completely normal when you see her.
Oh jeez.
And it's just, and then the second series is like sort of this like biomass takes over a ship, and it just starts like have you ever seen The Thing?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like-
that's one of my
Yes.
favorites. I saw that in 35
love The
millimeter.
Thing.
Yeah, it just starts like assimilating people into it, and it's just like this giant, like the ship turns into like this like giant living organism made of like human flesh, and like
Ooh,
it-
creepy.
it's just disgusting and disturbing and like hyper violent. It's so good though.
I've
But then,
only
like-
actually seen the first 2 episodes of it. I don't know where to find the others.
Okay, well, episodes 1 through 3 are like the like super hyper violent, like
Mhm.
oh my god, I can't
I think
believe
I've seen 1, 2, maybe 3, but I haven't
Yeah.
found any of the others. But it's been a while. It's been a couple of years.
And then like 4 through 5, it just kind of like changes like story to like a post-apocalyptic world, and like, you know, it's got to save the world, like sort of thing, where it's like, but it's still like really violent and disturbing, and it's just
Speaking of disturbing, I was actually surprised that I saw this and they were still selling this. When I went out a couple of weeks ago, I went to a local DVD store that also sells anime. I went to the anime DVD Blu-ray section, and I am still so surprised that they still sell this. And I'm gonna butcher the name. I'm sorry, but maybe you'll remember it if I say the name. It's called Urosuki Doji. Legend of the Overfeet. I can't believe.
You know, I was in Portland recently, and I saw the soundtrack to that on vinyl,
Oh boy.
which was pretty great. But like, I wasn't about to pay $35 for a vinyl from like a hentai.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah.
I saw that and I was
let's
like,
not mince
why?
words here. That practically invented the tentacle genre, from what as we know it, at least.
For what we know, yeah.
Mhm. I mean,
And
we
then,
all
like-
know the original was probably the famous ukiyo-e woodblock carving, "The Dream of the Fisherman's Wife."
Oh my god, that no.
I'm surprised they were still
Let's-
selling that. I was like, seriously?
Oh, you'd be surprised what you can find for like out of print duties and crazy stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And I want to say around this time also is when the horror manga boom just blew, like the 90s, like the horror manga
hmm
scene blew up. Like, and the number one person that came out of that was Junji Ito. When he's
definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
he basically started with like Tomie series about Tomie, a girl who drives men like to this like possessive, like, I gotta have her, she has to be mine, but then like she just like destroys their sanity and they wind up killing her. But the thing is, she can't die.
She's like an ever-living entity or something. You know, it's funny. The first time I ever heard about Junji Ito, even before seeing the manga, was because I was always into J-horror, like Ring, and some of the older movies like Jigoku, and there was a website called Snowblood Apple that's still around, and they had a review of like every Tomie movie.
Oh,
And I
It
heard
is-
about Tomie and heard about Junji Ito, and I'm like, wow, this is some pretty interesting stuff. I haven't.
Oh, Connor,
Um,
Connor, you
but-
there?
it's a good one. I just thought it was interesting because I remember that he did Tomie.
yeah, actually, the collection of the Tomie stories came out, I think, about 2 years ago. Viz Media has acquired
Nice.
all the rights to Junji Ito's material, so they've been putting out. They first put out Uzumaki, which is his magnum opus. Then came Gyo, which has. Here's the thing about his work, Junji Ito's works. It's very hard to adapt into film or television because it's very Lovecraftian. It's a Lovecraftian universe. It's like this world of like beings that where it's like they will. There's no way you could stop them. They will kill you, and it's a universe that hates you. Like it wants to see you suffer. And recently they've been Viz has been putting out his short story collections, which came out in like 16 volumes in Japan from like the 90s to the 2000s. And earlier this year, they actually did an anime for the short story collections, the Junji Ito collection. And as a Junji Ito fan, I was horribly disappointed. Like I was excited, and I was like, yeah, they're gonna adapt a lot of the good stories, and they did. But a lot of it wasn't what we were expecting or wanted. Like there was a focus on his kind of demonic little kid character, Soichi, who like places curses on people that
I will admit, I like the Soichi episodes because to me they're very funny.
Yeah,
I haven't read. See, none of the Junji Ito stuff I've read, other than a couple of them, were covered in that. And as an outsider who hadn't looked at all of that, I thought it was pretty good. And, you know, my girlfriend, she doesn't watch a ton of anime, but she really liked Junji Ito.
See,
She
and that's
got
the thing.
really hooked into that anime, and I think it'll make her want to like at least read it.
Oh yeah, it's what a lot of the stories were from the short series collection last year, Shiver. And it had like his most iconic ones. Like, let's see, the fashion model, the long dream, about a guy who's like he's in a hospital and he's trapped in a dream that like it continues from days to months to years to the point where he dreams that he's like thousands of years in the future and he just becomes this like grotesque being.
No, jeez.
And he just way.
Huh.
Let's see. Another good one was The Neighbor's Window, which is just it's like it. A lot of Junji Ito's work focuses on like your everyday horrors, like the stuff you never expect to like happen. Like the next door neighbor could be like this like and who is able to stretch her window to like try to get close to you to like snatch you up. And
Weird.
I would say the most. It like I said, it's very hit and miss for me. Like a lot of the episodes, very well adapted, but for me, it's they cut a lot of important plot out for time and pacing. So there's one story, the Blood Bubble Bushes. There's in that episode, there's a lot of stuff that they cut out that in the manga is very vital to the plot. And a lot of it just raised a bunch of questions in the story, and it's frustrating. And out of the Shiver stories, they covered every single one of them except for one, which was the hanging balloons, which are story about like these giant balloons that have people's faces on them, and they have nooses at the bottom, and they basically hang the people that they look like. And everyone was hoping like the last episode was going to be that, but then it's just like, oh, another Soichi, and every person I knew was just so angry because we were like, they were dangling that little beacon of hope and then dashing it, and like, no. And recently there was actually this month another short story collection came out that was based that Junji Ito did a very two form version of Frankenstein that was exactly like the book, and he just made it even creepier. And if you want a good manga to pick up this Halloween, I recommend Junji Ito's Frankenstein. And
I'll have to check it out.
Oh yeah.
Sounds cool.
And I'm gonna say we were discussing this earlier. We're gonna give some honorable mentions, shows that we don't want to that we want to discuss, but like
let's save all of our honorable mentions for the end. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would say the last thing I would want to talk about is probably Devilman Crybaby.
Oh boy,
yeah, that's a good
one of the
choice.
first animes to come out for the year.
It was, and along with I think Junji Ito collection and Devilman Crybaby both came out in January. And Devilman Crybaby is like the modern version of Go Nagai's Devilman series, set in a more like modern times. But
yeah, from what I can tell, it's a pretty accurate, or at least it's a pretty decent retelling. Honestly, the only complaints I ever heard anyone say about it were very preferential things, and that was more of the art style.
The art style is pretty wacky. But I think it's meant to be on purpose.
It's meant to be trippy and like weird, and
yeah, like an Aerosmith.
To me, it was just like, okay, well, it's like I've already seen anime that kind of has that Go Nagai look to it. The amazing 90s Devilman OVAs, which sadly were not completed, I think, because the director, I think, died mid-production.
Yeah, he died. And
those were amazing, and I think some of the best Devilman I'd ever seen. That being said, Devilman Crybaby did a really good job of capturing what Devilman is, but then modernizing it.
Oh yeah, and like my big thing is I am a huge music guy. Like my friend's fantastic.
Kick-ass soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
Devilman Crybaby has a kick-ass soundtrack.
Like all the synth wave and like electronica and like the orchestral music is when they place it, it's at the perfect time, and it's just it. And the anime, to me, the monsters and the animation are just so beautiful. Like I'm a big guy for well designed monsters. Like as you know, The Thing.
Yep.
Being #1 favorite movie of all time. But it's just with the Devilman Crybaby series, it deserves all the popularity and it deserves as many views as you can give it, because it's faithful, it's modern, it hits everything you'd want in a good horror anime, and it's just ending was just brutal.
Oh yeah,
like emotionally brutal, and like just. I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone. I'm not gonna spoil it at all because that's not what we're about. But just
let's just say bad things happen.
Thanks, Satan.
Thanks,
Yep.
Satan. Hail Satan 42069.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the animes I want to talk about for this delightful Halloween horror podcast.
Well, I guess I could give a little shout out, even though it's technically not made by a Japanese company, but the new season of Castlevania just aired on Netflix.
Very good.
Oh my!
I really like Castlevania. I am a longtime fan of the games, and I think it's a real good, like, old school horror. Like, kind of gives you the same feel. Not quite the same feel as the. Does anyone remember the '90s Bram Stoker's Dracula movie that had Keanu in it?
Yes.
And Gary Oldman.
Yep, Gary Oldman as me, Dracula himself. God, they capture that kind of feel, but they somehow don't go totally over the top and ridiculous. I don't know. I like it because it keeps the humor, but it also keeps the action. You know, they did a very good job with it.
I especially love season 1 of Castlevania with Trevor's characters. Like, stop kicking me in the testicles.
I love how Trevor's just like, everyone's just like, oh, the fucking Belmonts. Ugh, great. Here come these guys, and Trevor is just like, I love how Trevor's kind of a louse when you think of it.
Yeah, Trevor's like, I just want a drink. Stop kicking me in the balls.
And this is your hero. You couldn't have picked a better, like, unlikely hero. I like unlikely heroes.
Well, apparently I've still to watch season 2, but I have been hearing good things about it. I watched season 1, and I loved it. Granted, it was really out there when it came to the violence and the goriness. It really didn't hold any boundaries. They even said during an interview when they were releasing Castlevania, and forgive my language, they quoted, "It's going to be R-rated as fuck." And yes, that is entirely true. And I'm pretty sure season 2 probably follows suit as well in the R-rated scene. So if you're going to check out Castlevania, or if you've already watched it, then you know what we're thinking. But if you haven't watched it, check it out. If you don't mind gore, if you don't mind violence, just reminding you, it does get pretty brutal, like really brutal, but humorous as well. So it kind of like gives you the lightheartedness. And plus, if you're a fan of the video games, of course you're going to watch it. But that's all I want to mention since we were talking about Netflix series. And I thought Castlevania, since it's kind of got that anime style, it's American anime, I guess.
Well, and it was dubbed in Japanese.
Well, that works.
Yeah.
It took me a while to realize that the voice actor for Trevor is Forden Oakenshield from The Hobbit. Took me a while to realize that. Dwarf.
So I thought I would bring in some of my favorites. One of them that I really like, one of my favorite animes. I haven't quite finished it yet, but it's a really good horror one. It is a little thing called Shiki.
Yeah.
Shiki. So Shiki, for those uninitiated, Shiki is about, there's a rural Japanese village. I can't remember if it takes place like in the 80s or 90s or something.
It's I think it's set like in the 90s.
Yeah, it's because it's set kind of in the past, but not quite. And so it is this rural village, and all of a sudden, this strange epidemic starts to break out. People are getting sick. People are going missing. People are dying. And this is all happening at the same time that a mysterious family has moved into this town, and it all centers around a doctor. And this doctor is trying to figure out what is going on. And eventually he hears about a story related to waking corpses, or oki agari, as they are called. And there are hints that it could be vampires. And what goes on next is there's, a very good, like, kind of twists and turns. It's like it has 2 seasons. It's a very good, like, mystery horror anime. A little bit of a slow burn, not tons of crazy in-your-face horror out from the onset, but it very much builds up on this sense of dread. It's very stylized, but it's very good. I think it was based off of a series of light novels.
Yeah, it seems to be the case in most anime.
to me, it just felt like Shiki was just like, it just felt like anime Salem's Lot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I got that feeling too.
Yeah. and that's what I love because like I said, big Stephen King nerd over here as well. So hey, but when I saw that, my first thought was like, man, this just really feels like literally Salem's Lot, only like in like a different country with like just even more like extreme, just extreme touches of vampires. Although technically not vampires.
Yes. Technically they are Okiagari. Yeah,
That
so a
name
lot
sounds
of the horror that I like lately has been all of the stuff. I like anything that has a sense of dread, anything that has a build to it. And so that's why I've really liked Shiki. And there was, what was I watching? What was the other one? It's tough because actually I haven't been watching a lot of horror anime. I've been watching a lot of like Japanese horror films.
Ah, yes. Did you see Vampire Clay by any chance?
I have not seen that yet. I did, however, see Noroi, The Curse. That's a very good one. Long form found footage. Well, I just remembered another good one. So one of the ones from my past, one of these like ultra violence 80s horror animes. This is a famous one I remember because of the cover. I don't know if anyone else does, but Yoma, Curse of the Undead.
That name sounds familiar.
It was about, there's a ninja village, and it's during a war, and during the course of the war, demons and evil creatures of the night begin to rise and begin to attack the village, and it is up to I forget what his name is, but there's a ninja who I remember because he had an eye patch and a really wicked claw weapon. And they have to fight a whole bunch of crazy traditional Japanese demons that look like a cross between like a fanged crazy baboon and a butterfly spider thing, and there's some really good like old horror stuff. You can actually find it on YouTube. I think it is currently unlicensed. I'm not sure though. But it's a good old one.
Yeah,
If you want a great just like zombies and monsters and fighting and just like old nasty horror, that's the one for you. Yoma, Curse of the Undead.
They are on YouTube.
Yep. I think there's like 3 episodes.
Let me see.
Something like that.
Apparently Wikipedia says there's only 2.
Ah, okay.
So I think it's just like it's both episodes. They're just combined in like one long running thing.
You were saying, Kara?
Oh, I was just gonna say if you're unsure about it being licensed or not, I would warn to try and look for the licensed version just to support it.
Yes, look for the licensed.
Because
it was
Yoma
got re-released. Yoma got re-released as Blood Rain, Curse of the Yoma, and it is currently under let me see.
It was licensed by ADV.
ADV? Does ADV still have it?
Let's check and see if they. I'm checking to see if they
ADV isn't around anymore. So.
Oh no. Oh wait, here we go. Transferred. Okay, so ADV does not exist, but they transferred licenses over to Funimation.
Okay, so yes, if you want to check out Yoma, Curse of the Undead, as I know, it is now re-released as Blood Rain, Curse of the Yoma under Funimation. So check that out. I don't know if they have it streaming on their service. I'm sure you can check it out, rent it anywhere. Do yourself a favor, though, if you can find an old-fashioned VHS version, rent that one.
Oh,
that's the first one I saw.
It is available for $4 from Amazon.
It's worth about that much too.
Well, here's the thing.
$4 to spend. Do it, I guess.
Well, no. I'm sorry. That's the used version. The new version is like $50.
Oh wow! I don't know if it's worth that much.
Well, if something's out of print or licensed differently, of course, people are going to try and capitalize on a new version of it. But
Oh yeah, and this was also before YouTube started its copyright infringement stuff. Back then, you could watch anything without
Yeah,
any.
well,
The thing is, I think the thing is, for a while, Blood Rain was kind of floating in limbo and wasn't licensed for a little bit during the rights transfer. There's a lot of this older stuff that it's very difficult to find.
I was looking at it. It has not been re-released at all. It's just been kind of the last DVD for it came out in like 2001.
Yeah.
So if you can like find it like secondhand or like
check out Half Price Books.
Yeah, I love Half Price Books.
Yeah.
All the
Great
out of
place to
print
get your
anime
horror
DVDs
manga.
ever. But I just like to advocate for legal viewing, but if it's still impossible, then I would turn to YouTube or other websites that I'm not going to name.
No, like if you want to, you could go to those legal websites if they have them there. Because I know sometimes Funimation and places like that allow you to watch their videos on YouTube as well as Crunchyroll. You could always check those too.
Yep.
There was also another one that Riz mentioned, but it's region locked for me, so I like apparently they have a partnership with Crunchyroll. I forgot what it was called, and I really don't want to scroll back up. That's the one.
Yeah. VRV is the one that has multiple streaming services in one.
Might be on there. Didn't Crunchyroll start off as an illegal website, but then became legal? They started.
That would require some research.
Research that we don't have time for, I'm afraid. I think we're already close to the 45-minute mark since we started.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention a horror anime that I really enjoyed watching in the past few years. I think it came out in 2012, but it's an anime called Another. And this one I really enjoyed because it has a curse kind of J-horror element to it, where and there's also like a sense of mystery. And basically the overarching plot is that there's this class in this middle school that's cursed every so many years, and they get an extra person in their class, and their memories and subconscious are altered, so they don't know who is the extra person. But basically this extra person is the catalyst that causes the demise of some of the students. And it's just a really slow build up to the finale where all is revealed. But I just enjoyed like the craziness of some of the deaths. It was very Final Destination style. I think one girl fell on top of an umbrella down the stairs, and
we're showing
the whole world's
that clip.
Blood.
We're showing. I was about to say we're showing that clip at our 18+ J horror panel next year. So
that's probably the most famous death. But there's also another one where somebody, I'm not going to name the character, is swimming in the water and a boat chops them up.
I saw that clip. That's the clip I saw. And then I saw the umbrella clip afterward.
It's pretty brutal, but I just love kind of the curse J-horror type suspenseful movies. And it was like a nice mix of like traditional like J-horror with Final Destination deaths, and I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people panned it, but I dug it. I dug the entire vibe of it, and I want more like that. Because I thought it was entertaining. It's not the best anime. In fact, I think the ending is a little bit kind of but I really enjoyed the ride all the way up to the end. So I would definitely recommend it as something that's very, very spooky that you can watch on Halloween.
So check out Another if you guys haven't.
Yeah, it has creepy dolls and cool girls with eye patches and Final Destination deaths.
Cool deaths.
I'm sure there's people out there that love anime just for seeing the very like superstitial artificial deaths that people have created. Like you said, Final Destination is deaths. I'm not bringing up that stupid live action Death Note thing because that was just complete and utter rubbish when it came to the deaths in there. They tried
Oh.
so hard to be Final Destination. They really tried. And I kept thinking to
Yeah.
myself, this is not Death Note. This
No.
Light would not go into great detail about bully picks on girl, van crashes, and the ladders from the top of the roof when the van hits him and cuts his friggin' face in half. It's like, no.
Yeah,
Or-
in that show, the Final Destination deaths did not make sense because the source material, the manga and the anime did not have those kind of deaths at all. And
No.
I felt like it didn't fit the tone of the original source material at all. That's another case of bad adaptation.
But it's I agree, definitely full-heartedly. It's a bad adaptation for something that is good. If you've read the manga or watched the anime series.
I wouldn't say Death Note is horror, but the deaths are very gruesome. It's more psychological, like mystery.
Like
Well-
Monster.
Yeah, but I definitely dig Death Note, like the supernatural aspects of it, and like what the distinction between right and wrong isn't always as black and white as some people think, and it kind of shows if you think something's right to the point of you're wronging other people, then how does it make it right anymore? And I like exploring that aspect of mortality and morality.
Well, in Light's case, he believed he was a god. So
Yep. But I also wanted to mention another kind of spooky show that I really enjoyed watching. I have not finished it because they have done a lot of episodes, but the episodes are about 5 or 6 minutes long, which is anime called Yami Shibai, which means ghost stories, or roughly translates to ghost stories. But basically, it's a lot of traditional or just interesting Japanese ghost stories that kind of explore different elements. I kind of think of it as like a shortened version of like the Twilight Zone or something like that, where like a narrator is telling a story with like a kind of a moral, and it kind of just takes you into different universes and different worlds and what could happen in those worlds. And I really love the paper cutout style is really cool. Like the storybook style is really cool. So that's another one that I would definitely recommend, because there were some that made me jump and gave me the shivers. Not like kept me up at night, but it was.
I was really struck by the visual style of that one too.
Yeah, it really draws you in because it's so unusual for anime, and it draws you in. And that guy is really creepy. The storyteller guy.
the guy with the nails for
with the mask.
It's a shame they don't have someone sounding like Rod Serling, since you said Twilight Zone. Picture a typical Japanese school.
Subway.
A typical subway. People rushing to and from work, unaware of the horrors that lurk beneath.
See, I'm amazed that it already has like it's 6 seasons and it's like 72 episodes.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
Especially for a horror series.
It's pretty popular.
And the new season actually started in July of this year.
Wow, well,
they'll probably keep making them.
It makes sense for it to come out in July in Japan, though, because Japan has this tradition where they kind of focus on horror in the summertime, because when you get the chills, you can cool down. So usually a lot of like haunted houses or like horror themed things come out in the summer in Japan. So that would make sense that Yami Shibai came out in July. But
a lot of people actually didn't like the 4th and 5th seasons for some reason, and I'm like, okay, that's probably you, but I think like it's a lot of people were saying like, oh, they're just running out of material, and I'm like, do you know about Japanese folklore? Like, you have so much to draw from that.
Oh, I know.
Remember, Han, me and you watched a YouTube video about the top 5 urban legends in Japan, as well as other
Oh
Asian.
my gosh. Yeah, we have to mention this. I think this one's the most popular one, but it's the I can't remember what it is in Japanese, but it's the scissor woman.
The slit woman.
Oh, the slit woman. Where
Yeah.
she has the smile
Slit mouth woman, yeah.
Yep.
cut on her face. That's creepy. Like, just many creepy things come from Japan. Even their ghosts are scary with the long black hair. Ugh.
Well, that's their kind of spookiness when it comes to Japan horror. They love little girls or small girls with long black hair that wrap around people's
well, there's a term for
bodies.
it, and there's a term, Japanese word for it. I can't remember what it is, but it roughly translates to someone who is lost and is looking for something. That's the type of ghost that has like the long black hair and like the white dress, and Samara or the Grudge or whatever. They're a specific ghost that's like tortured and looking for something, and it's met an end where they're needing something in the afterlife to move on, and they're very violent, angry ghosts. I don't know, I can't remember the Japanese term for it, but those are the kind of ghosts that they usually use in J-horror.
I laughed so hard when I first saw the trailer for Rings, not Ring, but Rings, where Samayo or Sadako's clip goes viral, and that's the whole
Wow.
that's the whole movie. Like her video goes viral, and then of course she's going to have a field day killing everybody because she's just used to killing one person. It's like, I've got to give 7 days for these people. Oh my god.
Well, and see, here's the thing. These days, people wouldn't be dying left and right because now the whole thing is you react to it. And isn't the thing you're supposed to show them the thing and then you won't die? You show them the tape, then you won't die. So they're technically showing, hey guys, we're going to react to the cursed video. All right, like, comment, subscribe. This is going to be a good collab. Smash that like button. Smash that ghost button.
Yeah, smash that like button. I want to see if I die in 7 days, man. Let's do this.
I actually want to see that. To be honest with you, just take like good movies and just modernize them to where it's like to make them as silly as possible, but also way more terrifying.
Isn't that what the Scary Movie series is for?
Not really. That was just more a parody. I'm talking about like you take the idea of the Ring, but like modernize it to where it's like, yeah, there's like a video host, like and you just you show people the video, and then everyone gets cursed who watches.
That's what Rings was about. That's what Rings was about. It was a modernized take on the Ring lore.
Oh.
Where the video goes viral and everyone watches it and everyone is getting killed.
I need to catch up on the Ring series. Like, good lord! I know there was they made a movie with like the girl from the Ring with the girl from the Grudge.
I watched it. It's
they
stupid.
verse each other.
I've watched it. It's stupid. Don't watch it. It's just a bunch of 2 girls screaming their heads off for the whole movie. That's it. I've just basically given you the entire plot. There you go.
See, I was at our we made a joke about like in the early 2000s, Japan just had an obsession with like dead women who like drowned. Like every time you saw them, they were like really like ghost women who were like they drowned, so they're like all wet and like spooky.
Ooh.
And I'm just like, how many more of this can we pump out? Come on, Japan. I know you.
Isn't that Ju-on as well? Like, didn't she drown or something in a bathtub or something?
Yeah, she drowned in the bathtub, drowned in a well, and then there was like dark water where it was like girl drowned in like the water tank on top of the building. So it's like, oh god, Japan, like calm down, but also at the same time, people let's keep them going. These dead aquatic women, let's go.
Kind of reminds me of Project Zero, the Wii U game, or Fatal Frame, it's called in America. The main of Blackwater game, where it takes place in a fictional Akihabara. Not Akihabara. No.
Aokigahara.
Aokigahara. Yeah, the
Akihabara.
Suicide Forest. Not Akigahara. That's the nerd
Akihabara
game.
is the
Look,
That's
area in
otaku
Tokyo.
heaven.
Technically, Akiba's trip happens in a fictional Akihabara because it's an Akihabara that has zombies you have to take the clothes off of.
I thought it was vampires.
Oh, vampires, was that it? I don't remember.
Vampires. It was vampires.
I never played that game.
Uh-huh. Sure.
No, I never did play that game because I was too busy playing Honey Pop.
Senran Kagura. You played Senran Kagura.
I have actually never played Senran Kagura.
Oh.
I have.
I have seen the really funny British commercials for Senran Kagura, though.
Kara gifted me one of the games last Christmas. There was the cooking one, with the rhythm game with the cooking.
Oh yeah. That's how secure we are in our relationship. Is I can gift
You
him.
both play
I
the
can gift
anime
him
girl.
anime
kitty
movie
games.
games. Yep.
Merry Christmas. Have some underage big-breasted opie girls cooking for you and posing for the camera, wearing nothing but ice cream and berries.
Hey, I play that game too.
How did we get to this point? Is my
I have
question.
no idea, but we should do our honorable mention.
Ah, yes, our honorable mentions.
Yes. Sorry, we're getting off topic. Okay.
So, I have an honorable mention. It is Kurozuka. Kurozuka is kind of another vampire story, and it is a samurai vampire story taking place during the famous Genpei War. If anyone knows about Minamoto Yoshitsune. There's a war between the Minamoto and Taira clans. This is an ancient Japanese story. A true thing. They did have a war. They did fight. Minamoto Yoshitsune is he's a hero of like really ancient Japanese history. He's just kind of like a famous warrior, samurai, noble guy. And so in this, during the battle or during the war, he finds himself helped out and drawn to a mysterious woman who turns out to be a creature of the night, a vampire of some sort. I have not watched this in a long time, but it's good. A lot of style. If you want like a slower pace, like very traditional Japanese sort of ghost horror, love, tragedy story, whatever, it's worth a look.
Cool.
Speak-
So my honorable mentions, I have a few. These aren't necessarily entirely horror, but I kind of feel like they have a lot of strong elements to it, though, make you really uneasy. And that's Tokyo Ghoul. I have not seen the second or third season, but I really enjoyed the first season. I liked the body horror aspect of it and what ghouls are. They basically eat human flesh. And it's just interesting to see the how this person who used to be human becomes a ghoul and has to like deal with the human world and the ghoul world at the same time. But it has a lot of body horror in it, which is really cool. Another one is I really enjoyed ReZero. It's technically an isekai anime where someone's transported to another world, but there is a lot of horror aspects to this anime, especially the fact that he can reboot when he dies, and that really messes with his head. And then there's a lot of like violent scenes and horror scenes in it as well, especially with Beetlejuice. He's kind of the villain of the story.
He is one of my favorite villains.
He's crazy and like lovably crazy, but also really fucked up.
Beetlejuice Rome Conti. Yes! He's amazing. Voice acted by the same VA of Kirito, by the way. Just throwing that out.
That's hilarious. But I just really enjoyed those aspects of it. So like I guess if you want like a really cool adventure story that has a bit of horror in it, ReZero would be really good. It's got a lot of dark elements to it. I really feel bad for the main character Subaru because he dies, he resets, like people don't remember him. It really messes with his head. He sees different outcomes where there's just piles of bodies and people he loves dying, and he's trying to prevent all of that from happening. So I think it's really cool if you like more mess with your head kind of stuff. But those are my two. They're not full on horror, but I really enjoyed the horror aspects of them.
Well, I guess the few that I'm going to say are kind of the same thing. They're not fully horror, but they have elements of horror in them. And one of them is a guilty pleasure, which I'll save for last. But the first one I want to mention is a anime that's kind of a little bit more comedy, mystery, supernatural, but it has horror elements, and it came out in 2006. And I did actually watch it when YouTube didn't have its copyright things, because I watched all the episodes on there, and it's called Ghost Hunt. And it's like I mentioned, it's a mystery horror, and it's supposedly it takes place, or they try to make it take place in real life occurrences that have happened. But the characters, it focuses on two main characters. One, his name is Shibuya, and the other is Taniyama Mai. And Taniyama Mai is a high school girl that gets roped up in Shibuya's ghost investigation team, because each member of his team has a special ability. And with Mai's ability, and I won't call it this because I don't want to get sued, so I'll just say she's got the shinin.
I was about to say the shinin.
The shinin. She has the shinin. You want to get sued? She has the shinin and is recruited into Shibuya's little group, who also there's a monk, there's a cleric, there's a spiritualist, and apparently the monk and the spiritualist don't get along very well because they have different beliefs. It's like, no, my supernatural ability is far better than your supernatural ability. They just clash, and then you realize, yeah, they're going to get together. You know what's going to happen. Typical trope. But what I liked about the anime was it did show horror when it needed. And I remember the arc that they did was about this haunted house that they just kept building upon and upon and upon it. Kind of like the Westminster. Is it the Westminster house? Where it just the lady just kept building.
Oh yeah,
the Winchester house.
Winchester. My bad. Yeah, well, they kind of based an episode kind of off the Winchester, taking elements that this person kept building and building and building. And there's a creepy guy that's a creepy ghost that lives in it that lures people into his torture chamber, and he lives in a pool of blood type thing. And then there's the kind of I would say touchy-feely that make you feel emotional episodes, and then there's just one stupid end arc where they fight against a god, and it's just ridiculous. It's like, can you just go back to ghost hunting?
Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, it starts off with just typical ghost hunting, then spooky dolls and lone ghosts, creepy murderous killer ghosts, and then all of a sudden we're going to fight gods.
So would you say this is like a monster of the week type of format, or is there like a story arc?
It's a story arc that usually runs every 4 episodes, and after the 4th episode they move on to the next story investigation.
Oh, okay.
And I believe they are 20 plus episodes, 25, I believe. 25, yes. It's a 25 episode anime, and I don't know if it's still on YouTube or not, but if you can find it, I would definitely give it a watch. It's something more down to earth. It's nothing there's not really much goriness to it other than the one based off the house, and there's no things that'll make you jump scared or anything. There's no jump scares. It's just a very PG-13.
Yeah, the Japanese aren't really big into jump scares.
And I'm glad. They're more about disturbing.
You know, I've always thought jump scares are cheap, because you know what? Any mook can sit behind a corner and jump out at you when you least expect it and say boo and get you to jump. That's startling someone. That's not fear. That's not terror. That's not real scary. Real scary is the kind that gets you on the edge of your seat and makes you bite your nails and wonder, oh God, are they going to get out of this one?
Yep.
Boy, howdy, how the Duke boy's gonna get out of this one.
Yep.
Yeah, some of my favorite horror movies don't actually have a lot of jump scares in them at all, and I like that actually.
My favorite one of the year was pretty much devoid of them. It was Hereditary.
I
Yo,
have not
Hereditary.
seen that, but I want to see it.
Oh, it
Watch
is
it.
so good, and it is so messed up.
Man, basically my favorite horror movie is The Conjuring. It has a few jump scares in it, but it's definitely more about the family story, which I really like. It focuses more on the family and like what they're going through, and I like because of that story, you end up being invested in them and wanting them to beat whatever is haunting them. I don't want to spoil anything. I know it came out a few years ago, but
Well, there's
I really
there's a
enjoyed it.
universe now.
There's a universe. There's Annabelle and the Nun. But I like the original Conjuring. I felt like it did a good job building tension and drawing on people's fears in a really good way. But that's not anime. Mason, did you have any honorable mentions?
Well, I was still finishing mine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm nearly finished. I'll just quickly run through my honorable mentions real quick, so that way Mason can get to his. My next one on the list is Dead Man Wonderland, and I'm just going to say it's very screwed up. Don't go to an amusement park with your school friends. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh man, I did not like the ending of that. They left it on a cliffhanger. They never picked it up.
Hellsing Ultimate is also another one of mine. I just love the animation.
Oh my God. I almost talked about that one. Jeez. Oops.
Oopsies. Hellsing Ultimate is. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say, watch it. Just watch it.
Also check out Team 4 Star's abridged series for it.
Yes, to check out their abridged series as well. It's brilliant. It's funny. But if you want something that's animated so beautifully, like, oh my God. I don't know what budget they had. And I know each episode took years to make because it's only like a 6-episode. It's technically an OVA. And I believe there's only 6 episodes, maybe 10, maybe more. But the animation, the story, the poeticness, the theme, the culture, everything about Hellsing Ultimate just screamed yes for me. I love it. It's gory, it's violent. Who cares? I don't care. I get to see one of my favorite characters kick butt. And I'm not talking about Alucard. And my last one, guilty pleasure, is High School of the Dead because it's just pure insanity. And physics don't do anything in that anime.
It's that's like, I like to think of that one as kind of, even though it takes itself a little seriously, I like to put that in the same camp as American movies like Return of the Living Dead. Just real good, trashy, gory zombie fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I
Return of the
really
Living
enjoyed
Dead.
High School of the Dead, but I also did not enjoy some of the aspects of it. If you guys have been paying attention to Anime Secrets for a long time, I actually wrote a review for this anime, and I really enjoyed the zombie survival aspect of it, and like the gore and the violence, and like the idea of these high school kids trying to survive. But I kind of lambasted the fan service in it, just because I don't have a problem with fan service now. Back then I was a little bit more prudish, but I still stand by the fact that it kind of was out of place in the tone of the show.
Yeah, it got real ridiculous eventually.
It got
and
ridiculous.
I love
yeah.
me some Opie. I love Opie to death, but if it doesn't contribute anything to the plot, it kind of feels really weird and out of place. And I kind of felt that with High School of the Dead. But if you kind of shove that to the side, it's a really good zombie horror anime.
And what's actually kind of sad is like the creator for it died. So
I didn't know he died. I thought he was sick, but I didn't know he died.
He died not this past March, but last year. So
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know that. Jeez.
Yeah,
I knew he was a hentai artist before he did High School of the Dead, but I didn't know,
I mean, it
I didn't know
shows.
he died.
It shows, yeah. There's a lot of there's not it's not full blown nudity, but there's a lot of etchiness in there, like panty shots and
Oh yeah,
jiggly boobs and things like that.
there's a near rape scene as well, in a gas station. And yeah, jiggly boobs. The bullet time scene with the bullet going through the boobs. That's like an iconic scene. It's so weird.
Yeah, even when I saw that scene for the first time, I was like, okay. Is this just to show off, like, look how well we can animate bullet time or something? I don't know.
Creator was a pervert. Rest in peace.
I think they actually did a study of like how fast they were supposed to be moving in order for the bullet to travel, and they said like they were supposed to be going like the speed of like sound for that to happen.
So this character would have had to have calculated when to fire this bullet, so it would avoid this. Really, is he smart enough to know when to fire the bullet? Because I don't think so.
No, he was just firing at random, and like he missed.
It went through those flopping, amazing boobs. Just completely missed.
Oh, so yeah,
Alright.
spoiler alert, there's bullet time slow boob physics in there, but okay, sorry,
We're
that's
tangenty.
that's my those are my honorable
That
mentions.
girl with the sword is badass. I forget her name, but she was one of my favorites.
Mine too.
Seiko.
Like, so she ended up being like a total masochist that like gets off and like dishing out pain and things. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's crazy, but I liked her the best.
All right. I guess we'll move on to my honorable mentions.
Yeah,
And I
go
have
Mason.
I have I think 2 or 3. No, actually 3. I have 3, but I'll just get to them real quick. The first one is gonna have to be I was having a hard time choosing between them. Monster. It's an amazing psychological horror / thriller, and it's not set in Japan. It's a Japanese doctor, but he's living in Germany at the time of the Berlin Wall, and the plot is he has to operate on these diplomat, and there are 2 kids, and he's given a choice of save one of the kids or save this other person. So he decides to save one of the and because he made a horrible decision. There's mysterious deaths popping up all after he saves the kid's life, and at the time shoots forward to like the 90s, and he's living in Berlin, and there's a serial killer, and they're trying to figure out who it is, and it's an amazing series. It's 72 episodes, but if you can, the payoff is so worth it. And I found out Guillermo del Toro is actually doing a live action adaptation for one of the big I think it was like either HBO or Star, but they passed on it, so they're like shopping still, and I really want to see it live action because it would be so good live action. And the other one I'm gonna go to because I was told if I didn't mention it, people were gonna yell at me. Is Higurashi When They Cry, which is it's very delightful, but really messy. And the way I would describe it is, if you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day or Happy Day from last year, it's basically dude is kind of trapped in a time loop of like people dying, and like it's all these little girls are just killing each other, and it's just like figure out what's causing it, and once they figure out the cause, it's gonna stop the loop. And it's very, very, very bloody and gory, and it has like some very disturbing death scenes. Like if you're used to like there's an unwritten rule in horror where it's like the kids are never supposed to die, and in this series based off a popular computer game just looked at that rule and just threw it out the window and just said nope. And let's see, and the final series I want to talk about is Parasite, a really good body horror, sci-fi action that came out in 2014, and it's really good. Basically, alien parasites invade Earth, and they're supposed to like enter people through their heads and turn them into like kind of like these body shape-shifting creatures that like feed off of humans, and like they try to like adapt into human society. But like one of them kind of misses the head mark, and he gets into like the main character's hand, is his right hand, and they just start fighting all these aliens as they pop up, and it's just it's a wonderful plot. It's a good plot. The story pacing is spectacular. It's never a dull moment. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, and the monsters are just horrifying and disturbing, and just anytime they kill people, it's just like total evisceration, like people getting cut in half, getting their heads eaten off, and if you have the time to watch it. It's so good. And that wraps up my recommendations.
Yay.
Yay! Anybody have anything else to add before we wrap up?
I suppose since Mason mentioned Higurashi and he was talking about how disturbing it can be, and I agree. There's only a few things that can really make me go ugh when I watch anything like an anime, a show, a movie, or any form of horror. There's only two things that make me just cringe to high heck, that makes me go no, 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 and it's eye gouging or nail pulling. But yeah, that's one of that's couple of things that make me just go no, 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 because I can handle gore, I can handle bloodiness, I can handle seeing blood everywhere. But you show me. Welcome back.
Oh hi, yes, sorry, I just have to go pick something up real quick. Late delivery in the mail.
Oh boy, live unboxing.
But
yeah,
is there a scene
I was gonna say like
with the nail
there
polish?
is there's a scene in Higurashi that involves nail pulling,
Ugh.
and
Ugh.
it made me go no. That's how disturbing Higurashi can be for me.
I usually like my thing is just like if it's a series where like they kill the kids, I'm just like nah. But like with another Higurashi, I'm just like, well, if it's part of the, I guess I'm okay with it. And like, yeah, like I can handle like you, I can handle any type of like horror movie death thing. But like if it's like teeth pulling or nail pulling, nope. Nope.
It's just a reaction. It's just something that reacts inside me where it makes me just makes my whole body just stop and like, no, don't do that, no.
Me, I just can't handle any sort of like anime is fine, but anything like the Saw movies or Human Centipede or anything like that really makes me sick to my stomach, where I have to like cover my eyes and turn away, because I just can't handle the sight of blood or gore in like live action movies and stuff, which is why I usually watch things that are like ghost movies or things like that for horrors, because I just can't handle torture porn at all. It makes me very sick. But in anime it's not so bad, so I can watch it in anime. But Any movie or TV show that has like torture porn, where people are like cutting their legs off or like dismembering themselves, or anything like that. It's disgusting. I can't.
Then you wouldn't like Takashi Miike's audition movie.
I've heard of that movie. Oh, ugh. I know of a scene in it that's really gross.
Yeah, it's got grotesqueness, it's got disturbing and violence all in one.
Yay! Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, yes.
Happy Spoopy Ween.
Happy Spoopy Ween. Well, I've said all I've said. For anyone that's tuned in this far, good job. Sorry, we were on a
Thank you for
tangent.
sticking with us.
You did it. You are the real troopers here.
And my
that's
corgi
what
says
post
hi.
is for.
Hey.
And my corgi says hi.
A lot.
Sorry.
No.
I have a mute button. I try to get to it as soon as possible.
I love corgis, so I don't mind.
My sister's actually getting a corgi next month.
She'll love it. They're great dogs.
Oh no, she has been wanting one for like years, and like her and her fiance are like, oh my god, we're finally getting one.
Basically, Cowboy Bebop made me want to get one when I first watched it when I was a kid, and when I became an adult, I was like, I can finally choose my own dog. And I thought I was going to be so clever. When I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to get a corgi, I'm going to name him Ein. And I found out that literally thousands of people have thought of that before me. So,
What's the next best thing that's around? Game of Thrones, that'll do.
Yep, my dog's name is Tyrion. So he's a dwarf dog named after a dwarf. Fits. Well, thank you everyone for joining us and dealing with our tangents and our love of media and horror and anime and just anything in general. And
if you're I was gonna say, if you're gonna be at MechaCon in next year, please come check out our 18 plus J horror panel, where we'll be discussing everything in more detail and showing clips, because yay 18 plus.
Woo! 18 plus.
Hope you guys have a strong stomach.
Oh boy. Get ready, because it's a coming.
Oh my gosh. Our dear leader Riz has been wanting me to go to MechaCon for years, and every year they hold MechaCon on my birthday. And I have one rule in life, and that is to not work on my birthday. And Riz always wants me to work at MechaCon. No. I'm not working on my birthday. But if you guys are in the Louisiana area, Mason is really good at podcasting and panels. Mason is good. So check it out.
I host the last year was our first year hosting the J horror panel, and this year was our first year hosting the J horror panel, and then this year was also our third year of hosting the JoJo's panel. So if you like either of those things, come check them out. It's gonna be really cool.
Come meet Mason. Yay.
And just laugh at our attempts to entertain.
They're laughing at you.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
just
you die in the game, you die in real life.
Just don't bring any pig's blood or name Mason the prom queen, and we should be good.
The only downside of this panel is we cannot show any nudity. So we are extremely blessed that Japan has so much blood and gore. I'm looking at you, Tokyo Gore Police.
Love it.
But yeah, come check out our panel. We're gonna have 2 hours of 18 plus horror fun, and you'll learn a thing or two, like why Japan has this unholy obsession with body horror, and why you should check out a bunch of like cool spooky bands like Psy and Necronom Idol.
Ooh. Well, it'll be next year.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for dealing with us and getting this far.
Happy Halloween.
We are very excited that this podcast is coming out, and I hope you listen to the end. And thank you for listening if you listen to the end. Have a good night, good morning.
Good job for
Happy-
getting this far. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Bye.